A mother arrived at her son's graduation with a disheveled appearance, and what the young man said into the microphone stunned everyone in the crowd. Ruth was a woman of incredible resilience, humble yet strong, who had carried the burden of raising her son, Adam, on her own. Widowed while pregnant, her life was filled with hardship and relentless challenges. Adam's father had passed away too soon, succumbing to stomach cancer. Since then, Ruth faced the harsh reality of supporting the family alone, selling treats on the bustling streets of Austin. Each day was a battle from dawn until dusk. Ruth would rise before the first rays of light, preparing her treats with skill and dedication. Every sweet she crafted held a piece of her spirit and hard work. As she mixed the ingredients, her thoughts constantly returned to Adam. Adam, despite his young age, understood his mother's struggles and did everything he could to help within his limits. "Mom, let me help with the treats today," he would insist each morning. "No, my son, you must go to school," Ruth would reply, a gentle smile on her face. "But Mom, you need me. I can sell sweets after school." Adam persisted with the youthful determination typical of his age, helping her pack the treats. "You are my angel, Adam. You don't need to help. Focus on your studies," she murmured, knowing that education was the path to a brighter future, something she deeply wished for him. Adam was an exceptionally gifted young man, attending a prestigious private school on a scholarship, with a fierce ambition to succeed. Despite his intelligence and dedication, he faced the daily challenge of being an outsider among his more affluent classmates. One afternoon, while waiting for class to start, Adam was approached by one of his classmates, Blake, a smug boy from a wealthy family. "Hey Adam, why are you still using that old phone? Can't you get a new one? Let me show you the latest models. I'm sure your family can afford it," Blake mocked, a self-satisfied grin on his face. Adam felt a surge of embarrassment, but kept his composure and replied, "It's not about the money, Blake. My phone works perfectly well for what I need." Shortly after, another classmate, Connor, a spoiled boy who always had the latest gadgets, added his sneer. "Adam, why are you still using that small, outdated tablet to study? Can't you get a bigger and more modern one? I'm sure your family doesn't want you to fall behind, right?" Connor jeered, a sarcastic smile stretching across his face. "Wouldn't want you to fall behind, right?" Connor sneered, his lips curled in sarcasm. Adam felt a pang in his chest, but remained steady. "My tablet may not be the latest, but it serves me perfectly well. I care more about what I do with it than about showing it off," he replied calmly. Connor shot Adam a disdainful look, clearly taken aback by his determined response. "Ha, look who's trying to act tough. We all know you're just a poor kid pretending to be something you're not. Your family must be really struggling to keep you in this school, right?" Connor taunted, his voice echoing down the corridor. "You can think whatever you want, Connor, but my family is amazing. They do everything to give me the best opportunities, and I'll never be ashamed of that." Adam responded, his voice steady and confident, ringing through the hallway. For a moment, Connor's smug expression wavered, replaced by a look of uncertainty. "You're a lost cause, Adam. You'll never know what it's like to have the best in life. Don't worry, though. I'll make sure everyone knows how much of a failure you are," Connor said, a venomous smirk on his face as he walked away. Adam watched him go, feeling a mixture of relief and anger. Connor's words weren't true, but they still stung. Taking a deep breath to steady himself, Adam held back the tears that threatened to spill, keeping his head high as he walked toward the bathroom. Once inside, he locked himself in a stall and let his emotions flow freely, leaning against the cold wall. "I know it's tough now, but I have to stay strong. I'll finish school, get into a business program, and become the professional my mom deserves. I'll make sure all her sacrifices are worth it. I promise, Mom." Adam remained in the bathroom for a few moments, drying his tears and taking one last steadying breath. Looking at his reflection in the mirror, still a bit blurry, he told himself, "I'll keep going." With newfound determination, he returned to class. After school, Adam headed to the spot where his mother usually sold sweets on the street. "Hi, Mom," he murmured, giving her a gentle kiss on her forehead. "How was school today, Adam?" Ruth asked, noticing something was off in his demeanor and inquiring with concern. "Were you crying?" "No, Mom. It's just allergies," Adam fibbed, forcing a small smile. He didn't want to burden his mother with his troubles, especially given all she already had on her plate. Knowing his mother already had so many burdens, Adam decided to shift the topic to lift her spirits. "Mom, today was such a hectic day. We had 3 tests, and I still need to finish a science project," he said. Ruth nodded, understanding. "I know, my son, it's hard, but remember, every bit of effort you put in now is building your future, one step at a time." Adam sighed. "Sometimes I wonder if I can keep up, Mom. It feels overwhelming." Ruth looked at him with firm encouragement. "Adam, my dear, you've already proven yourself to be stronger and more capable than many. Embrace every opportunity to learn and grow. Failures are just steps on the ladder to success. There's no shame in stumbling as long as you get up and keep moving forward. I believe in you, and I know you'll achieve your dreams because you have the heart and mind for it. Your determination is your greatest strength." "Thank you, Mom. With you by my side, I feel like I can face anything," Adam replied, a smile lighting up his face as Ruth's words filled him with confidence. At school, Adam rarely, if ever, spoke about his family life. He was a quiet, reserved boy, keeping both his school and personal life separate. It wasn't that he was ashamed of Ruth or the hard work she did selling treats on the streets of Austin to support them. Rather, Adam feared that his classmates might mock or pity her, emotions he believed were undeserved by the woman he respected so deeply. This fear kept Adam silent about his family at school, rarely mentioning Ruth's name among classmates or teachers. One sunny afternoon, however, Connor, with a mischievous gleam in his eyes, approached him, eager to pry. "Hey, Adam, I've always wondered, you never talk about your family. Who are they? What do they do?" Though it seemed a casual question, Adam sensed the underlying intentions weren't so innocent. "Connor, I don't see any reason to discuss my private life here. What matters is what we're doing at school, not what happens outside," he responded, his gaze direct and challenging, trying to dissuade Connor from further prying. But Connor wasn't one to back down easily. "Oh, come on, Adam. It's just a question. You act like it's some big mystery. Everyone else talks about their families. Why not you?" At that moment, Blake joined in, intrigued by the conversation. "We're just trying to uncover the mystery of Adam's family here. It's like he's living in some kind of TV drama," Blake joked, trying to get a reaction. "More about Adam's mysterious family here," Blake mocked, his tone dripping with sarcasm. "He acts like he's living in some kind of TV drama." Trying to provoke a reaction, Blake watched Adam, but Adam kept his cool and replied, "As I told Connor, I don't see any reason to talk about my family here. What my family does or doesn't do is no one's business. We're here to study, so let's focus on that." The air of mystery around Adam's family only deepened with his response, leaving classmates and teachers to speculate. Adam was known only by the basics. He came from a humble background, with sharp intelligence and unwavering resolve. During a break, a few teachers discussed his remarkable qualities, noting that his insight often went beyond his years, enriching discussions with depth and maturity. His drive stood out, especially since he lacked the same material resources as other students, showing that determination and talent could surpass adversity. Meanwhile, Connor and Blake happened to pass by and overheard the conversation. Blake, dripping with irony, muttered, "Ah yes, the teacher's favorite. I bet he only gets good grades because they feel sorry for him." Connor, eager to chime in, added with a smirk, "Exactly. It's not like he's actually smarter than us, it's just sympathy. He plays the poor kid card and everyone falls for it." Though they had all the advantages, Connor and Blake couldn't match Adam's academic success, fueling their envy and leading them to tear him down in any way they could. However, Adam's achievements were genuine, and he had a clear reason to strive so hard. His mother, Ruth, despite her long days selling sweets on Austin's streets, always encouraged him to stay dedicated to his studies. One evening, while they shared a simple meal, Ruth looked at him with pride and said, "Adam, I see the effort you put in every day, and it fills me with joy. Just remember, knowledge is the most powerful tool you have. It's something no one can ever take from you." "I know, Mom. I promise I'll make the most of every opportunity to learn and grow." "I want to make you proud," Adam replied earnestly. "Adam, I'm already so proud of you. But I want you to have opportunities I never had. A good education can open doors beyond what we can imagine. I want you to have a life with fewer struggles and more options. Every hour you study, every book you read is paving the way to a brighter future. You have so much potential, my son. Use it fully." The next morning, as Adam prepared for school, Ruth embraced him tightly and whispered, "Make today another step toward your dreams. Remember, I'm always here for you, cheering you on with every step." "Thank you, Mom. I hope you have a wonderful day at work and that you sell all your sweets. I love you, and I'll study hard so that one day I can repay you for everything you've done for me." "I love you too, Adam. Have a great day at school. I'm so proud of you," Ruth replied warmly. With this loving exchange, Adam set off for school. A few minutes later, Ruth headed to her spot on the street. Once there, she greeted her fellow vendors with a nod and a modest smile, carefully arranging her sweets to be as appealing as possible. Soon, the sweet aroma from her stall began attracting customers. "Good morning. Would you like to try one of my sweets? They're made with a lot of love and care," she offered kindly to each passerby, her voice gentle and inviting, regardless of how they responded. Many greeted her with smiles and thanked her for her sweets, but there were others who were less kind. Some people looked at her with disdain, questioning if someone who appeared like her could really sell anything. Others even hinted that she should be begging for charity instead. There were also those who noticed her calloused hands and suggested, with veiled criticisms, that her rough appearance might deter potential customers. But Ruth, unwavering and dignified, responded calmly. She assured them that the quality and care she poured into her sweets had nothing to do with her appearance. She stood firm, proud of her work and the quality of her products, unaffected by anyone's judgments. On a particularly hot spring day, two teenagers approached Ruth's stall. They were Blake and Connor, Adam's classmates, though Ruth was unaware of this connection. With the typical arrogance of those who have never known hardship, they began to mock her. "Look at this vendor, so poor and poorly dressed. Does she really think selling these treats will get her anywhere in life?" Connor sneered. Blake joined in, adding, "Pathetic, really. We're rich. Our parents have money, unlike you, stuck out here in the sun all day. I bet you wouldn't escape this miserable life even if you had 1,000 years." Ruth, hearing their hurtful words, felt a pang of pain in her heart. It was hard to be judged and humiliated, especially by teenagers the same age as her son. Noting their uniforms, she realized they went to Adam's school and wondered how privileged young people could lack empathy and kindness. Nevertheless, she refused to let herself be intimidated and responded, "We all have our struggles and dreams. I hope one day you both understand the value of hard work and respect for others." The teenagers were momentarily taken aback by her thoughtful response. Blake's face stiffened, and Connor forced a laugh. "Whatever. We'll stay rich, and you'll stay here selling your little treats on the street," Blake muttered as they walked away, leaving Ruth alone with her thoughts. Despite the unpleasant encounter, Ruth didn't let their negativity shake her spirit. At the end of the day, as Ruth packed up her stall, she reflected on the incident. The cruelty of those boys made her worry about the kind of influences Adam might be dealing with at school. She wondered if he too faced mockery and how he handled it. That evening, while preparing dinner, Ruth decided to gently approach the topic. She waited for the right moment to open up a conversation with Adam, hoping to reinforce the importance of sharing their challenges and experiences with each other. With a gentle look and a voice full of affection, Ruth began. "Adam, my son, I want you to always feel comfortable telling me anything. Have you had any troubles at school recently?" Surprised by her question, Adam hesitated. He thought about the countless times he had faced mockery and cruel comments from some classmates, including Blake and Connor. However, he decided to keep these struggles to himself. "No, Mom, everything's fine at school," he replied, forcing a smile he hoped would seem convincing. Ruth watched him closely, sensing he was holding something back. "You know you can tell me anything, right? Whatever it is, we face it together, just as we always have." Adam lowered his gaze, gratitude and a tinge of guilt mixing within him for keeping things from her. "I know, Mom, and I appreciate that. Really, though, it's just that I'm a bit tired from all the studying, nothing to worry about." "All right, my son. Just remember, I'm always here for whatever you need," Ruth said. choosing not to press him further. As they finished dinner, Adam grew thoughtful, feeling a pang of guilt for not being open with his mother. Later, alone in his room, surrounded by scattered books and notes, he allowed himself a moment of reflection. Just a few more months? He murmured to himself, trying to find comfort in the approaching end of his studies. Graduation symbolized not only the close of a chapter, but also the beginning of a fresh start, away from the taunts and pressures of school life. Adam resolved to shield his mother from these worries, determined to keep her safe from needless concerns, at least until graduation. He promised himself that after that, he would open doors for a new life for both of them. "For her, I can endure this," he said firmly. This inner strength, powered by love and a desire to repay his mother for all her sacrifices, kept him moving forward each day, ready to face the world until he could finally provide them both with the future they deserved. To give Ruth the future she truly deserved. Finally, the day of Adam's graduation arrived. A milestone they had both waited for eagerly. Adam woke up early, feeling a mixture of nerves and excitement. As the class speaker, he was filled with a sense of honor and responsibility, taking every step seriously. He dressed carefully, choosing an outfit that reflected the importance of the day. Before leaving, he met Ruth in the living room, where they exchanged a look that conveyed so much without words. "Mom, I'm heading out early to make sure everything's ready," he said, his voice tinged with hopeful anticipation. Ruth smiled, her heart swelling with pride. "Go ahead, my son. I know you'll be incredible today. I'm so proud of you," she replied, holding back tears. After Adam left, Ruth returned to her room to start her own preparations. She had saved for months, forgoing small luxuries to purchase a white lace dress, one she had carefully chosen for this occasion. The dress, simple yet elegant, was paired with wine-colored high-heeled shoes, a combination she never imagined herself wearing, but which felt perfect for this special day. As she dressed, Ruth allowed herself to daydream, picturing the ceremony, the joy of watching Adam receive his diploma, and the sense of accomplishment their journey would soon symbolize. Determined to make the day memorable, she went to a local beauty salon where she had made appointments for her hair, nails, and makeup. Sitting in the salon chair, being pampered, Ruth felt as if she were in a dream. She knew that today would be a turning point for both her and Adam, marking the beginning of a new chapter full of possibilities and challenges. "Today is special. My son has finally finished his studies, and he will grow into a great man," she whispered to herself. Fully prepared, Ruth looked in the mirror, and the reflection surprised her. A proud mother, radiant in her moment of triumph. She looked beautiful, her appearance a true symbol of joy and pride. Leaving the beauty salon, Ruth began walking toward the graduation venue, feeling every heartbeat, each step bringing her closer to seeing Adam shine. Each heartbeat, each step bringing her closer to witnessing her son's moment of triumph. However, something unexpected happened. Connor and Blake were on the same street and recognized her immediately. Despite her transformed appearance, they approached her with sneers. "Where do you think you're going, all dressed up like that?" Connor mocked, his smile filled with malice. "Don't tell me you stole that dress from someone," he added. Blake joined in, saying, "Yeah, no way a street vendor could afford to look this dazzling. You must have pulled some kind of scam or stolen it, right?" His words dripped with venom and contempt. "You're very mistaken," Ruth responded with dignity, meeting their eyes steadily. "I neither stole nor scammed anyone. I worked hard to be here today to celebrate a very special moment." Connor, scrambling to regain his mocking tone, managed a weak retort. "Well, let's see if anyone else buys your little story about working with dignity," he sneered. Blake, equally unsettled, mumbled, "This isn't over," trying to maintain an air of indifference, although Ruth's words had clearly shaken them. Ruth replied confidently, "Your judgment doesn't define me or diminish the value of what I'm celebrating today." She turned and walked away, determined not to let their cruelty tarnish the significance of the day. But Connor and Blake, unsatisfied, ran after her, bent on further harassment. "Wait, do you really think we're just going to let this slide?" Blake challenged. "We don't believe for a second that you haven't done something shady to be here like this. People like you don't change overnight. You must have scammed someone, and you should pay for pretending to be something you're not." Connor added maliciously. Ruth stopped, turning to face them once more, her eyes filled with unwavering resolve. The only mistake here, she said firmly, is thinking that a person's worth is measured by their appearance or their bank account. I owe nothing to anyone except my son, and it's for him that I'm here today, dressed like this, to celebrate his achievements, not mine. Today is my son's graduation. Now, if you'll excuse me, I have more important things to do, Ruth asserted firmly, turning toward the school. Connor and Blake exchanged confused glances, taken aback by her response but still unwilling to back down. She's going to our school? Connor murmured to Blake, his tone now mixed with curiosity and skepticism. What's a candy seller doing there? Something doesn't add up. Blake, still trying to hold on to his superiority, replied with disdain. Of course, it's some kind of con. There's no way she actually has a kid at our school. Maybe she's just lost, or crazy. And anyway, we can't let someone like her just waltz into our graduation. Our school has standards to uphold. Connor agreed but hesitated. Yeah, sure, but how do we stop her? Just tell her to leave. At that moment, Blake noticed some municipal workers finishing up repairs in front of the school, leaving muddy water nearby. Seizing the opportunity, Blake approached and kicked a bucket of mud toward Ruth. Caught off guard, Ruth stumbled in her heels and fell into the puddle. Oh my God, why are you doing this? What have I ever done to you? Ruth cried, her face streaked with mud and tears. You know exactly why. You're a scammer, and now you're paying for it, Blake sneered. Come on, Blake, Connor added. Our graduation is starting, and she's gotten what she deserves. They walked into the school, leaving Ruth behind, devastated. Her dress was soaked and stained, and her pride felt bruised. For a moment she wondered if she should just go home. But missing Adam's graduation was unthinkable. With steely determination, she resolved to face the situation head-on. Entering the school, Ruth chose a secluded spot, hoping to go unnoticed and avoid further embarrassment. As the ceremony began, Adam, the class speaker, scanned the audience, eager to spot his mother and share this moment of pride with her. When he finally found her, his heart sank. Ruth appeared like a shadow of her usual self, her dress and hair disheveled, visibly shaken. 2 boys from your school humiliated me on the street, son, Ruth explained, her voice trembling with a mix of shock and emotion. It's not the first time they've acted like this, but today they went too far. I just wanted to be here for you, to see you on this important day, and they... Her words faltered, choked by emotion. Adam felt a surge of anger. Who were they, Mom? Can you point them out? He asked. Yes, my son, it was those 2, she said, pointing to Blake and Connor. Fury burned inside Adam as he recognized them. They've humiliated me before, but doing this to you? It won't stand, Mom. I'll seek justice for us, he vowed. Stay calm, son. Don't do anything that could hurt you, Ruth cautioned. Don't worry, Mom. I'll handle this the right way. They can't just walk away from this, Adam promised. He then stepped away and walked to the podium. Facing the crowd of classmates, teachers, and family members who had gathered to celebrate this milestone, Adam took the microphone. His voice echoed through the hall as he began, Good evening, everyone. I had a prepared speech, carefully chosen words for this occasion. But due to what's happened today, I can't continue as if nothing happened. I'm going to break from protocol. The audience, surprised by the serious shift in tone, listened intently, captivated by the unexpected gravity in his voice. Today, more than ever, I realize that the lessons we take from here extend beyond books. They lie in the actions and character we choose to display. That's why I'm asking my mother, Mrs. Ruth, the reason I'm standing here today, to join me on stage. In the audience, Ruth hesitated upon hearing her name. Surprised and still shaken by the recent events, she wasn't sure how to react. But Adam insisted, extending his hand toward her, saying, Mom, please, nothing bad will happen. I'm here to protect you, and I'll only go on if you're by my side. Encouraged by his determined look and the supportive murmurs from the crowd, Ruth stood and walked to the podium, her steps hesitant but resolute. Adam took a moment to steady himself before beginning, his focus and purpose renewed. The room fell silent, anticipation filling the space as all eyes turned to him and Ruth. Adam held his mother's hands firmly and began. Tonight, I stand here not only as the speaker of this class but as the son of an extraordinary woman, my mother, Ruth. A woman who, despite becoming a widow while pregnant, raised me alone, facing endless challenges with unwavering strength. He paused, looking at Ruth with deep affection. Every day she goes out to sell treats on our city's streets. She faces the sun, the rain, and most painfully, the humiliations. But she has never let herself be defeated because she had one goal: to provide me with an education, to give me a chance for a better future. Adam's tone then shifted, more serious. Today, before this ceremony, my mother was humiliated by two of our classmates. They publicly shamed her and tarnished the dignity of this special day. I, too, have faced ridicule in this school because of our financial situation. I chose to endure it silently, hoping tolerance was the answer. But today, when these attacks were aimed at my mother, I realized silence is not the answer. Injustice must be confronted. The audience listened intently, some murmuring and glancing around, curious about whom Adam referred to. Without hesitation, Adam continued, "Blake and Connor are the ones who humiliated my mother and me." As he spoke their names, many in the audience turned, casting disapproving looks toward the two boys. Blake and Connor sat in stunned silence, clearly shaken by Adam's revelation. The celebratory atmosphere shifted, turning into a moment of deep reflection on the values held by the school community. Adam paused, taking a steadying breath to control his emotions, and looked directly into his mother's eyes. "Mom, you are my inspiration. Every sacrifice, every tear, every smile, everything you did was for me. I stand here today because of you. I love you more than words can express, and I promise that all your efforts will be worthwhile. I will become someone you'll be proud of, not only as your son but as a person who follows your example of strength and compassion. You are the bravest warrior I know. You taught me the true meaning of perseverance and resilience. So today, in front of everyone here, I honor you, my mother, my hero, my warrior. Without you, none of this would be possible." Tears flowed from Ruth's eyes and from the eyes of many in the audience, moved by the powerful tribute. Adam continued, "Today, I ask us all to reflect on the kind of people we want to become and the type of community we aspire to build. A community that stands against injustice and supports one another, no matter what. No one deserves to be humiliated, and I speak these words to fight for everyone who endures hardship like my mother and me." Adam's speech profoundly touched everyone present. People rose to their feet, giving him a standing ovation, many with tears in their eyes. The heartfelt tribute from a son to his courageous mother created an emotional atmosphere, and the respect for Adam and Ruth was immense. Among the applause, emotional comments filled the room. "I've never heard such sincere, beautiful words from a son to his mother. It's truly inspiring," remarked an elderly woman. "Adam's words made me want to be a better person. The love he has for his mother, that's real courage," said a young man. Even those who didn't personally know Adam and Ruth were moved. "Wow, this young man's story. It shows the power of family and love," murmured a visitor. "This boy and his mother's story, it shows the true power of family and love. I'm genuinely moved. They deserve all the success in the world," remarked a visitor who had come to watch his nephew graduate. However, not everyone shared the same sense of pride. Connor and Blake's families remained seated, hands still, faces marked by deep shame. The pride and joy usually accompanying a graduation had been replaced by a profound sense of embarrassment due to their son's actions. After the speech, while people gathered in groups to talk, Connor and Blake's behavior became a frequent topic. How can boys from good families act so cruelly? Many wondered, reflecting on the disconnect between the values supposedly instilled at home and the actions witnessed at school. Adam's revelation not only exposed their cruelty, but also led to a broader reflection on the values taught within the community. Connor's parents, hearing the murmurs and criticisms around them, felt the weight of their shattered expectations. Despite providing him with the best education and every opportunity, they realized they had somehow failed to instill in him the core value of respect, regardless of wealth or social status. In response to Connor's unacceptable behavior, his parents expressed deep disappointment, noting how his actions deviated from their family's values. They revoked the car they had planned to give him as a graduation gift and insisted he take responsibility for his expenses. marking the beginning of an important lesson on the value of respect and money. When Connor attempted to apologize, his parents were firm, emphasizing the need for him to learn from his mistakes and to treat all people with dignity. Blake's parents, similarly, conveyed their disappointment and shame regarding his actions on graduation night. Blake's parents, fielding numerous calls from outraged parents who shared the same sentiment, admitted they had failed to instill respect and empathy in their son. As a consequence, they canceled his planned trip to the United States, cut off his allowance, and required him to work at the family factory. They presented this work not as a punishment, but as an opportunity for him to learn the value of effort and to understand the consequences of his actions, hoping he would reflect and learn from his mistakes. A month after graduation, Blake and Connor faced an unexpected event. They both received legal notices. Adam had hired a lawyer and filed a lawsuit against them. News of the lawsuit quickly spread, sparking renewed discussions about accountability and the importance of personal responsibility. Blake, terrified, sat in his living room with the notice in hand, whispering to himself, "This is really happening." Connor, experiencing a similar reaction, murmured, "Now we have to deal with this too." When the day of the hearing finally arrived, tension filled the courtroom. The families, parties involved, and curious onlookers gathered, creating a mixture of anticipation and unease. Adam and Ruth sat together, attempting to remain composed, while Ruth's gaze shifted between her son and the boys who had caused them so much pain, searching within herself for some space for forgiveness. Blake and Connor entered the courtroom with somber expressions, avoiding eye contact with Adam and Ruth, but fully aware of their presence. As the judge called the session to order, the room fell into a profound silence. Adam's lawyer stood to present the case, addressing the court. "Your Honor, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, today we address a case that transcends a mere isolated act of humiliation. This case speaks to the core values we strive to uphold as a society: respect, dignity, and protection against abuse and public humiliation. My client, Adam, and his mother, Ruth, were subjected to a treatment no one should endure, especially not on Adam's graduation day, a moment meant for joy and celebration. Instead, they fell victim to a despicable act perpetrated by the defendants, Blake and Connor. This act was not only cruel, but a public humiliation intended to belittle and harm." He paused, allowing his words to sink in before continuing. "The evidence we will present demonstrates not only the incident itself, but a pattern of behavior. This pattern stems from a blatant disregard for fundamental principles of decency and empathy. The issue we present today goes beyond seeking compensation for damages. It's about making it clear that our community does not and will not tolerate such actions. It is about ensuring that acts of humiliation and abuse are met with the full force of the law to protect the well-being and dignity of all citizens." Concluding his statement, the lawyer looked squarely at the judge. "Your Honor, throughout this trial, we ask that you consider not only the facts but also the lasting impact these actions have had on the victims. We seek a sentence that not only fairly punishes the defendants, but also communicates that our society values and defends mutual respect and dignity above all." After the powerful statement from Adam's lawyer, Blake and Connor's defense attorney stood up, prepared to defend his clients. "Your Honor, members of the jury, today we discuss the actions of two young men, Blake and Connor, who admittedly acted recklessly. However, it is essential to understand the context in which these actions took place. At their core, they are simply immature boys, whose poor decisions were shaped more by the typical lack of judgment of youth than by any real malice. While there's no denying that the incident was unfortunate and regrettable, to label these actions as inherently malicious or to attribute a deliberate intent to humiliate and degrade fails to consider the true nature of adolescence and impulsivity. The defendants engaged in behaviors that, while reprehensible, are best seen as poorly thought-out pranks typical of their age, the defense attorney continued. Aiming to reduce the perceived severity of the incident, we must recognize that the emotional and psychological development of adolescence is incomplete. By nature, they are prone to impulsive actions, often without a full understanding of the consequences. While this does not absolve them of responsibility, It is essential to consider this when evaluating the intent behind their actions. Concluding his argument, the lawyer addressed the judge and jury. Ultimately, Your Honor, members of the jury, we ask you to see Blake and Connor not as criminals, but as young men who made a grave mistake. A mistake from which they are willing to learn and make amends. Our goal should be to guide them back onto the right path, not to discard them over a single act of immaturity. After carefully weighing the evidence and arguments from both sides, the judge took a brief pause before delivering the verdict. His voice, clear and authoritative, filled the room. After due consideration of the evidence and arguments presented, a decision has been reached. While I acknowledge the impulsive nature often associated with youth, I cannot ignore that both defendants are of an age where they fully comprehend the consequences of their actions. The actions perpetrated against Mrs. Ruth and her son Adam were not mere pranks. They had significant consequences and inflicted real harm. Therefore, it is essential they face appropriate consequences for their actions. Blake and Connor are hereby sentenced to 6 months in prison. Additionally, they are required to pay substantial compensation to Adam and Mrs. Ruth for the emotional distress and public humiliation they caused. The courtroom buzzed with murmurs of surprise at the severity of the verdict. But there was a palpable sense of justice in the room. The judge concluded, "This court hopes that this time in confinement, coupled with the obligation to financially compensate the victims, will serve as a harsh but necessary lesson, helping the defendants understand the gravity of their actions and the impact they've had on others' lives." After the hearing, Adam and Ruth left the courthouse together, each step lifting a visible weight from their shoulders. Adam looked at his mother, a smile of relief breaking across his face. "Mom, justice has been served. No one will ever humiliate us again." With tears in her eyes, not of sadness, but of relief and gratitude, Ruth replied, "I know, my son. Today you showed me that we can always fight for what is right, no matter how difficult it seems. I promised myself that I would protect you and ensure justice was done. I couldn't let what happened go without consequences." Adam's voice was resolute as he continued, "We deserve respect. We deserve to live without fear." Ruth smiled proudly. "You've grown so much, Adam. Your father would be so proud of you, just as I am. You fought not only for us, but for everyone who has been wronged and couldn't defend themselves." As they walked home, a sense of relief and satisfaction filled the air around them. In stark contrast, Blake and Connor faced the start of a far grimmer reality. Taken to prison, the two young men found themselves sharing the same cell, a small, uncomfortable space that would become their world for the next 6 months. What had initially seemed like a brief sentence quickly stretched into an eternity. Each day dragged slowly, marked by regret and the harsh realities of prison life. Inside the cell, their conversations often turned to reflection on their actions. "I would give anything to go back and do things differently," Blake confessed, his voice soft, echoing against the cold walls. Connor nodded, sharing the sentiment. "We were idiots. We thought we were untouchable, that our actions didn't have consequences. How wrong I was," Connor said, his voice low, weighed down by guilt. "Do you think they'll ever forgive us?" he asked, referring to Adam and Ruth. The uncertainty of facing the people they'd hurt haunted him. Blake sighed, uncertain. "I don't know, but I do know that when we get out of here, we need to do everything we can to make up for what we did. We have to show them we've learned something from all of this." Connor nodded. "Do you remember graduation day?" "We were truly cruel," he said, his voice thick with remorse. Blake looked down, his mind clouded with regret. "Yes, I remember. It was awful. I don't know how we could have thought it was just a joke," he admitted. "We humiliated Ruth in front of everyone, on what should have been one of the most important days of Adam's life. And for what? To feel superior. It was a terrible mistake." Connor agreed. "I'd give anything to go back and undo it. But all we can do now is learn from it and try to make amends somehow," he said. "They didn't deserve what we did. No one deserves to be treated that way. We need to apologize to show that we truly regret it." Blake nodded. "Yes, we need to. When we get out, it'll be our chance to show that we've changed. We need to prove we're not the same people who walked into this cell. We can be better," he said. This conversation between Blake and Connor marked the beginning of a profound change in both of them, as they came to fully recognize the cruelty of their actions and the gravity of their mistakes. They started to understand the importance of taking responsibility and the power of regret and transformation. After serving their 6-month sentence, they were determined to repair the damage caused by their actions. One of the first things they decided to do was to seek out Ruth and Adam to offer a heartfelt and sincere apology. In their search, Blake and Connor discovered that Ruth had stopped selling sweets on the street and, with Adam's help, now owned her own cafe. When they asked to speak with Ruth, they were directed to her office, where they found her immersed in paperwork. Despite the surprise visit, she received them with a calmness that unsettled them. We came to apologize for everything we did. We know we were very wrong, and we are genuinely sorry, Blake began, his voice trembling slightly. Connor took a deep breath and added, Mrs. Ruth, what happened was unacceptable, and I'm here to humbly ask for your forgiveness. I'm truly sorry for all the suffering we caused you. Please accept my sincere apologies. After a long pause, Ruth finally spoke. What you did was incredibly painful, not only for me, but especially for Adam. But I believe people can change. If your remorse is real, I can forgive you. Just then, Adam entered the office, surprised to find Blake and Connor there. His posture turned defensive. What's going on here? Are you here to bother my mother again? Blake quickly intervened. No, Adam, it's not like that. We came specifically to apologize to your mother, and now to you as well. We know what we did was unacceptable, and we take full responsibility. We're here to ask for your forgiveness. Adam, initially skeptical, examined their expressions. Noting the sincerity in their eyes, his stance softened. All right, I accept your apologies, but I hope you've truly learned from this and will do better going forward. His tone, though still guarded, carried a glimmer of hope that these apologies marked the start of genuine change for Blake and Connor. This unexpected meeting in Ruth's office became a turning point, not only for Blake and Connor, but also for Adam and Ruth. It highlighted the transformative power of genuine remorse, forgiveness, and the possibility of redemption, even after the gravest mistakes. For everyone involved, it was a crucial step on the path to healing and mutual understanding. If you enjoyed this story, please like and subscribe to the channel. Your support helps me continue sharing inspiring and heartfelt stories every day. Don't miss the next captivating story that's just a click away on your screen. Thank you so much for your support, and see you soon.